What's up, y'all? This is Jay Spruill, Movies, Music, Sports, and Life, and I'm going to attempt to give you a Superman review without any spoilers. The problem is this movie is so weird that it's really hard to talk about it objectively without giving spoilers, but I'm gonna do my best. I got a spoiler review coming with my boy Jago Kenru. To advise you, he gave me a number. He said 8.5 out of 10. I'm only looking at a 7. I only give it 7 out of 10. And I know on face value that can seem like a negative video. A negative review, for a video. But if you give me a chance, I'll explain. We're only 1 minute in. How can I put this, man? When we review these movies, man, when we do these critiques, we try not to take into account how everybody else is feeling and what everybody else is saying. Shout out to my boy Chance Jalove. If you were to ask him, he would probably agree with me on this. With comic book and superhero movies, it's almost impossible to do an objective review and to tell how we feel about it without considering what everybody else is saying and how people have been feeling. Okay, this is what we'll say. This poisonous word right here. Y'all see this? Woke. You get so tired of white men, and then it's a lot of, so-called brothers, the same race as me. They join the white men and crying and complaining about DC and Marvel being so woke. And it takes the fun, it takes the enjoyment out of watching these movies and then listening to the reviews, because it's just like hate bombing, like they did it with the Riri Williams, the Ironheart series. It just wears you down, kind of similar to this Caitlin Clark thing of the way her fans act. Her fans act as if she's God's gift to black women, and black women should just bow down to her, and she's not even the best player in the league like they act like she is. And they scoff over the achievements of the black women who have already been in the WNBA, been there, and just say, well, this is your savior right here. And that happens a lot with these superhero movies. It's like, it's just so irritating. They just to the point, if you're not a white heterosexual male, they're angry. You know what I'm saying? And they just hate everything. So I say all that to say, I had already seen some warnings that this so-called reboot of Superman was going to be woke. I did not find that to be at all. But here's the balance though. James Gunn, who's known for Guardians of the Galaxy, he always makes his comic book movies, colorful and fun and goofy. And Zack Snyder, Joss Whedon, when they were doing DC, they made it dark and serious and grounded and brooding and emo, all like that. So you kind of got to find a happy medium. You can't be as dark as Man of Steel was, and then you can't be as goofy as like The Flash was, and Creature Commandos, and the second Suicide movie. You can't be that goofy either. So James Gunn had a real challenge on his hands to do that. And then there's something else about Superman that you guys aren't considering. One of the complaints about the movie is that Superman was getting rocked, like left and right. He was getting his butt kicked. And a lot of people are complaining about that. Here's the thing, we can't have it both ways. The reason that a lot of executives and writers said that it's so hard to make a Superman movie is because he's too OP. And if you don't know, that's a slang that the kids came up with, and it just means overpowered. So when you have a character that's so overpowered, there aren't any stakes if nothing can kill him, nothing can hurt him, and then kryptonite is the only thing. But how much kryptonite are you really gonna be able to find? You know, it's not like it's like a gold mine. It's not like Walmart, like, you know, like they got kryptonite marked on every corner in every city. So it always leaves the door open that Superman is always gonna find his way out of it. In this particular movie, they had Superman's number, and they do kind of tell you at the start of the movie he's only in his third year of being Superman. So he's still kind of young in it. And obviously he's super strong, but there is a particular reason why he was losing these fights. I can't spoil that, but once that person is unmasked and they explain it, it makes sense why he's losing the fights. Okay, you fighting somebody with very similar powers, very similar strength. So you're not always just gonna automatically beat everybody just because you're Superman. But I understand. Lois Lane, I felt like the Lois Lane from Man of Steel was much better than this one. This one seemed kind of like a feminist, and then kind of emotionally unavailable. She kind of, even the way she dressed, she kind of dressed kind of like a tomboy. So she kind of seemed, I'm not going to say unemotional, but Superman was way more emotional than her. And she kind of moved like, hey, I can take you or I can leave you. And that doesn't kind of fit with the damsel in distress. You know, that's what Superman was built on, was, and we even have we have a saying in the hood called Captain Saberho, or stop caping for that broad. That comes from Superman because he's always saving her. But if you got a woman that's kind of mean and not very emotional and not very affectionate, it kind of kills the concept of what Superman is. You know what I'm saying? You remember in Batman vs Superman, he killed an African dictator. He flew from America to over there in Nigeria somewhere and just put him through a wall. Didn't apologize or nothing over Lois. So that's a bit of a weakness to me, the way that they didn't really develop her. The other thing that I think people will criticize, but when I watch it, I saw both of these things as a positive. Krypto, the dog, is a star in this movie. And he's CGI, but he really, really looks real. And obviously he don't say a word because he's a dog, but he's funny. At times it feels like he has more personality than Superman. Yeah, that's kind of messed up, but he's super funny, he's cute, he's effective. Like, you know, he's effective in these battles with regular fighting and with strategy. So y'all are really gonna enjoy Krypto. I would be in disbelief if anybody comes away from the movie saying that Krypto got on their nerves, especially with his little cute red cape, you know. And then the other person, man, Mr. Terrific. Dude, Mr. Terrific, not only was he cold, not only was he useful, it didn't seem like, you know, he had like this amazing tech that he could hover with and maneuver with and make force fields, and he could do all kind of cool stuff. He added some comic relief. He was super cool. But the other thing, I think one of the best slash fighting scenes in the whole movie, it was Mr. Terrific. His fighting scene was better than most of the stuff that we saw Superman do. So even though I like that, I understand why people may be upset, because I kind of felt like Black Panther fell victim to that in his first movie. That I think Michael B. Jordan has some better action scenes than Chadwick did, and then Chadwick wasn't as dope with his action in his own movie than he was in Captain America: Civil War when he debuted. So I found that to be a little weird, but we got a similar thing here, is that Crypto and Mr. Terrific kind of outshine Superman a little bit. But overall, and then Lex Luthor. I don't really have any complaints about Lex Luthor. I thought he was good. He was serious. There's a little subplot with his girlfriend that's very entertaining to watch out for. And yeah, he was ruthless. He was vicious. I mean, as he should be. If we're trying to make this a believable thing and not go too goofy over the top comic book, whenever they would go too goofy over the top comic book, Lex Luthor's viciousness would kind of bring us back to reality. So go see it this weekend, man. And if you did see it, I know a lot of people say don't spoil anything in the comments. I don't care about that. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I'm gonna do a spoiler review with my boy anyway. But like I said, since I don't care if it's spoiler or not, in the comments, let me know what you think the ideas for part 2 should be. What direction should they go in with Superman, and what direction do you think they should go in with villains, and who should they pull out of the rogues gallery? Movies, music, sports, and life. We out.